Good morning, everybody. Welcome back today. This is Paul Cramey. Today, we're going to spend most of our time talking about the production cloud app, and then we'll kind of wrap up at the end of it and kind of illustrate just at a very high level how it is facilitates the overall subject of managing workflow, but doing it from either from the field or from the production area where you don't have to have direct access to, to control. There are 4 handouts that are on the website that can be downloaded. Some of you that were on the call on Tuesday should have gotten an email for 3 of them. The other one was already posted for Tuesday's session. But if you're new to the call today and weren't with us on Tuesday, I would really encourage you to download those, those four documents. I'm just going to do a real quick overview of which ones they are and what they look like. So the first one is this one. I'm going to get rid of the agenda. We don't need it anymore. This is just a high-level view of the representing the life cycle of orders, where it comes in. Order comes in, goes into the line items, kind of spins around there in the production and between the production and scheduling, and then it ultimately will get delivered. That's the concept. The handout is this one. It goes a little bit deeper. This is just my representation of how one might manage estimates in orders from a workflow standpoint. So this first page, for example, is all estimate related. Begins its life over here with a request, and hopefully ends its life as a converted order. However, you may void it or you may mark it as lost, and then the process begins down here for an order, either coming in from an estimate itself, or coming over here by a request and then flowing through the preparation and finding out requirements, etc., and then flowing on down to ordering materials, production processes, etc. This kind of will form the basis of some of our discussion towards the end of the session today. A more detailed workflow of this is on this one. Goes a little bit deeper. I'm trying to illustrate for each of the primary or department level stations where it is associated, built, sale, or combinations of all 3 of those, and then the concept of first level or second level stations associated with it. I'll load these 2 again towards the end of our time today. And then the last one is just there if there might be of any interest in it. Oh, there it is. I'm hiding some of these. Well, I'm not sure that we're seeing it, but it's not that important. It's just a tool that you might want to consider using for yourself to kind of begin to plot out what your flow might look like, or how you would like it to look. And it takes into account your sales volume and your number of employees, because that highly influences the whole production workflow process. If you're small, just 2 or 3 or 4 people in the production area, it's not that much of a big deal since to manage the workflow. So with all of that background nonsense, let's get my notes and we'll get started. I'm going to pause a few times and we'll try to get some questions in. So the production cloud app, which is the focus of our discussion today, what is it? Why use it? Who wants it? And what are the devices that you can use with that particular app? Well, what it is essentially it's a cloud-based app that users with help users with use control features from a mobile device for doing job grouping and things of that nature. So why would you want to use it? You would probably want to use it if you have if you don't have the full licenses out in the shop area, or more importantly for people that are out in the field doing installation or delivering goods that they need access to control. The mobile app provides the means of doing that. The application supports both tablets, iPhone, Galaxy, Android, and iOS types of devices. Who can use the cloud app? The mobile app, you must be using version 6.1 of Control. You'll see it up here on the control screen. You must be using 6.1, and then individual employees have to be given permission to use the cloud app. Excuse me. To illustrate that, I'm going to go up to setup, and then I'm going to go to employee setup. Then I'll expand my employees over here, and I'll just pick myself. Get into the edit mode so you can see this. No, I don't want to get into the edit mode. I'm going to come down here to the edit user, and this bottom check mark must be turned on for any individual in the shop that you want to be able to have access to the mobile app. Okay, it's very simple. Just go into the employee setup, choose the employee, go to the edit user right here, and then make sure that check mark is on for the for the app. Now I'm going to close this. I'm going to switch now to the cloud app itself. I'm in what's referred to as a developer's mode. Since I can't actually use and flip back and forth between the phone and in Control easily. So this is a tool that simulates the different kinds of devices. So I've actually set it up so that, excuse me, so that I'm emulating a 7.9 inch iPad device. Now, to log into this particular device, I'm going to log out. So you're going to get a login screen. You have to reference your business, what's called the cloud root path, to get the business name. And then you will use your same login username and the same username password to log in. So my business name is this goofy combination of numbers here. And my username is the same with -01. That's because I'm in a cloud environment and they've got me set up so that I can do this from a couple, 3 different computers, okay? Now, so that now has logged me in to the device. Now, where you find the business name in Control what you will do is you go to the help screen, about control. Let me see if I can flip back real quick to do that. You go up to help and about control, and then about halfway down, you see the cloud route path. And this is the name, the business name, then that you would use when you're logging in to the the cloud app itself. I'm going to go back over to the cloud app here. So kind of an overview of the cloud. Man alive, I don't know why I've got the junk. This is the top level bar. You can see that you have the ability to search. You can search, for orders, or you can search for estimates, or not estimates, but things of that nature. You can review your job boards, and that's kind of what we're looking at here. You can use the time clock, and then this, I would strongly encourage you, if you're not familiar and haven't used the cloud app, this help button opens up a really, really good 11-page document that, if you can, I would suggest that you download it and print it, and just keep it as a reference. A lot of the things that I would be alluding to are included in that document. And then, of course, you can log out. Come on. There we go. I wanted to get back to that page. So the time clock, this is where you would clock in and clock out. So right now I'm clocked off of the, but it shows who it is that's in that's logged in, and what the last station was that had been used. So it shows that I'm actually still logged in, to that from yesterday when I was working. So if I were to log out, I could say clock off. I could go out on a break. I could simply change the stations. So let's clock out. Now it says that the number of hours that were on that particular task, and the fact that I'm logged off up here at the top. Now, if I hit the clock on again, I can clock myself in, and I do that. Then I would pick a station. I might say, if I were starting at the beginning of the day, I might clock myself in to just a general station that's really not directly related to any kind of a production process, so to speak. You can also, if you paused, if you're going off on a break, you can resume the last job. So you can start and stop as you're working on. Someone would be working on on a particular station. So here in this large blue area, this shows what the current daily totals are, how many hours I've been logged in. And then it shows me for the week, what the time was there. And then down at the very bottom, it shows you the statistics, for the last, 2 weeks or so. So you can see a lot of historical, activity as well. Now I need to go back to control for just a bit. So bear with me because we're going to bounce back and forth a couple, 3 times. So first question is then, well, what's meant by jobs? Well, jobs are a means of combining different work-related items that are to be routed through that you want to route through the production process together. So it's a means of grouping certain things together. Now, jobs can be grouped in 3 different ways. I want to show that here just a second. Go up to jobs, taskbar, production setup. And job grouping. Edit this so we can see it. There's three different ways that you can group jobs as they're going through the system. The first one is that you can keep an entire order together so that it's going to flow through the various processes as a single job. Okay, so that's called order level grouping. The second one is that you can make each individual line and any child related to that line so that they flow through together. Okay, they flow through at the based on the top level line item. And then the third is that you can make each line and each child line item flow through by themselves. So you're starting at the very highest level and just taking the entire order and say that you're going to flow it through the process together, or you're going to take it down to the child level, and where you're going to group any child or a line item, and then any related children to it, you're going to flow those two together. Or the third, you're going to break them all up in all of those child items or sub-level items. All are going to flow through, independently through the process. Now, I think I would pay attention, to this, to the notes here, in the that help screen that I mentioned in the Cloud app. You might want to think in terms of starting at the top level, and then as you get more and more comfortable, you may feel a need to to take it down, to break it down into the next level down as far as the detail is concerned. So some of the important things, hang on a second. Some of the important concepts and considerations is if you change the station on anything in a job, then everything is changed. In order to appear on a job board, the job must have at least one line item. That's kind of a no-brainer. And then the groupings of both new and existing orders can be modified by using the production setup tab in control. In other words, you can go to the job setup in control and change some of those things. Now let's go back to the Cloud app. There are 5 what I think are important job concepts as it pertains to the Cloud app. First of all, the job board is similar think of it as in a similar way that you might if you had a physical production board up on the wall in your shop. You're just, think of it in that context, and the job board concept is essentially the same as what you might have used in your shop if you had just job jackets that you created and you put them on pegs on the wall, or you had marker pens and mark things up on the wall. So the job board then provides a quick way of moving the orders through the different stations that affect all of the different processes, production-related processes that have to be used. Job board is made up of multiple lists, and that correspond to the different stations. And we'll talk about the stations in a bit. The stations then describe where the work is actually being done. Lists are then made up of cards, what are called production cards, and those correspond to the jobs themselves. The cards are supposed to progress from one list to the next, and you can do that by the dragging and dropping it from one list to the next. And then a job board, you can customize those job boards. Now, creating a job board, I'm going to go over to my boards. You can have, when you create a job board, it will appear down here. And then if you want, you can make a job board and refer to it as my favorite, or as a favorite, okay? So obviously you can see, and I'll talk more about these towards the end of our time today. I've created these job boards, and I've declared them to be my favorite boards, okay? And if I were to click on one of those, now I'm going to see what the stations are that have been associated with that particular board. And you can see that down here at the bottom, that each of these dots then represent these different stations. And the same thing's true. Now, these other job boards are just others that I've created over time and have played around with. Then this list here is all of the stations that are in control. So if we would look at those, that's the list of all stations, regardless of any job boards that they might be associated with. So if I wanted to make this one my favorite, all I got to do is drop it up there. If I want to create a new job board, I would just say this, and then come down and say I want to create a board, okay? And to do that, first off, you give it a name. You would indicate whether you want that to be a private board that's only visible to you when you're on your login, or whether you want to make it a public job board, which means that anyone else that logs in can see that particular board. Then this is a means of kind of color coding, so to speak, the different job boards that you might be creating. And then after you've given it the name and declared whether it's a private or a public board in any color scheme that you want, then you come out here to the right where you see the word stations. And now you just simply select a plus sign and begin the process of selecting one at a time the different stations that you want to be on there. So let's do this one. And that one. And that one. And let's just stop at that point. Now I've added those 3 stations. Here's the new board that I just created. Right now, it's just there in that other category. But if I wanted to make it a favorite, all I got to do is drag it up there. Okay. Now let's pause here to see if we have any questions to this point.
No questions, Paul.
All right, so now using job boards, if we open this one, that one's not really a good one to do because I don't have much of anything in it. So let's go back to this one. Number one, we're seeing the stations that are in this particular board that I've called my production board. Okay, so if I just can progress across, I'm seeing these 3 or 4. I don't know if there are others that are out here. I don't have any others that are out there. So really, I have just these 5 stations that I have associated with this particular board. Now up here, if I use the every, I can assign it or make it unassigned. If I want to see the items that are completed, that's the check mark. And if I want to see the ones that are in built, that's these that are the gray. And these that are not completed are in the white, and they say that they're not completed. Okay. So if I want this one, let's take this item right here. Now I'm beginning to see what job it is associated with over here on the left, what order it is associated with, and that it is the first line item. The first line item is this invoice number 1070, item 1B, okay? And it's currently, I'm clocked on. So if I were to clock on, I could click on to the whole job. I could clock on to the line item. Okay, so now the clock is ticking and it's going to be accumulating. Over here on the right-hand side, you got 2 main sections, the details of it and the actions that are going to be taken from it. In the details area, you can see the production-related stuff that pertains to it. So if we click the little arrow, it simply says that this is a design task and that it's a description of that design task. Okay, we go back. This shows the company that it's associated with. It shows the due date and other jobs that are in this particular job, other jobs that are related to this. So these are the other jobs that are related to this one. The parts, you can see the parts that are involved, if any. There are no parts. Notes, any notes that you want to add. Now this is important because you could, these are notes from the order itself. And then these are production notes. So if you're out in the field, you could enter a note in the through the app into these. This is the order that there's level item 1, item 1A, item 1B. Okay. Documents. Here there aren't any associated with it, but you could using the document feature, you can associate the documents with the with this particular job, and then other information that that might be appropriate. Now, if we flip over to the action side, you see the production information. Here you could, come on. May have gotten myself into hot water here just a second.
Paul, we do have a question when you get a chance.
Okay. What in the world did I do? I'm going to close out, see if I can just log back in. Okay.
You're going to have to share your screen again.
Yep. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, what the question?
It's from Debbie. Can we see what it's like when you click on the whole job as well? Where do you put notes in Sirius to be seen in the app?
Okay, let's do the notes in Sirius that we see in the app. So I'm going to switch back to control. And if we, let me cancel this and go to an order. I'm just going to pick this first one. And the parts UDF here. These up here are visible at the with the customer. So let's come down to here and edit this. Okay, I just put myself a note in there. Now that was order number 1088. Search for 1088. Here's 1088. And with any luck, come down here to the details. And here's the note. And it was the production related notes, okay? So Debbie, does that help?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Good question, though. Let me get my notes here just a second. Okay, I want to go back to my boards here just a second, and I'm going to, in the printing and lamination here, So I'm in this board that I called my production, and I'm going to come down to an order. This I'm going to open it up, and if we look at the notes on it, not the notes, but in the detail section, it says what it is, who it is, what the due date is, other jobs that it's related to, parts that are involved. You can add parts if you need to. Notes we've already looked at. Documents, there aren't any. Other information. Now, if we come over to the actions and what do we want to happen next, okay? So the production information is going to remain unchanged. That's going to remain unchanged. We could change the due date. I can down here, I can change take it out of this station. What in the world? I've never seen it do that. Sorry. Here's where I wanted to go to change the station. Look at who is assigned to. Add any more production notes. Now, this is the key thing here, these next two. Depending on the level of cloud app or production app that you choose, there's a basic and what I call an advanced that I'll comment on at the very end today. If you're using the advanced features, you can take photos out in the field, and they'll be attached to the order in control. You can have a customer sign that they have received the goods or whatever, and that would be reflected in the order. But that is an advanced feature. It's not part of that capability. It's not part of the basic. Here you would just basically, click your picture, and then it would be attached. And here you're getting a signature. I obviously can't do that from my computer. So you can walk through, and here you're progressing. You're progressing from
Paul, you need to share your screen. We can't see.
Oh, I did log out. Sorry about that. What I was saying is you can change the station to wherever you want it to go. It's ready for finishing. You can change the assignee, who it's assigned to. You can mark it that it's completed, add in any notes, taking any photographs, capturing any signatures. And this is what I was saying. These two are more advanced features. They're part of the advanced capability that are not included in the basic. So now it would be in the finishing queue. So if we come back to the boards and come into finishing, That was 1-1 job 1131. It's not in. I don't have the stations all set up the way they would normally flow, so I can't see where that one would have been. The concept that I was after was to get the production boards set up so that, I think in terms of things that you're going to do from a pre-production standpoint. You might have to order materials, you might have some design work that you need to do. So it's going to come in, it's going to get put into a queue, then it's going to get scheduled, and then it's going to be declared that it's in progress. So it's going to go from step to step inside that pre-production section. Then when that is done, then it would flow. You would change the station that would flow it, that you would flow it over to the production processes. That might include printing, and might include cut vinyl, might include screen printing, it might include electrical stuff. Those could be separated into their own major priorities. Then it's going to flow that it's ready for finishing. That's where you may do mounting and other assembly related stuff. And then it might go from there to it's ready for delivery or ready for pickup. You may have to do some packaging types of things, to get it ready. And then it's going to be ready to push out the door, where the stations then would include it's completed, it's delivered, it's been shipped, it's been picked up, etc. So the intent of my choices here would be to follow in those groups, in those job related groups, the progression from coming in the door on the left, progressing to multiple progressing on to multiple perhaps finishing steps that might include quality control work, and then the final disposition where the ownership of it changes from you the owner to the customer as the new owner. I'm going to pause here for questions before I go into the different usage levels and the related costs. So we have any questions on anything today so far?
No other questions, Paul.
All right. As I said, there are two basic levels of the cloud app that can be used. And Linda, I want you to intervene if these have changed. What they call the basic services that gives you access to the time clock, the job boards, and station management, unlimited production boards. The services that are not part of that basic level is the document management, the photo capture, the signature capture, and part usage. Those four components are not part of the basic fee. Now, the cost for that basic is $0. And that's when I'm not certain that is. That's what it was last year.
It's the same, Paul.
And it's the same. Okay.
Yes.
Then what they call the plus level. You'll have to visualize with me as I say it, go through it. It's $12 per month per user login. And let's talk about what it picks up. So it's all of the basic features, plus you have the document management, the photo capture, the signature capture, and the ability to affect the part usage. Now, this is billed in arrears on the 25th of the month, and it's based on the actual number of user logins. So an example, the bill for a month would be $12 if one user logged if the first user logs in one time and uses one of the plus features. The bill would be $24 if one user had two logins, or there were two logins, and both use the advanced features. So the billing, if there's none of the advanced features that are used in a particular month, then the cost is zero. But if there are some, then it depends on the number of actual user logins, during the course of the month. We've got about 15 minutes of
Paul,
time.
we do have a question.
Okay. All right.
And Debbie, I'll unmute you again. It might be easier for you to just relay your question.
Okay, we have our graphic designers set up on the boards, and then we're going to slowly move production over to the boards. Currently with the designers, if the order level is, hold on, let me pull up an order so I can see what the options are. If the order level, it has to be set to the full order level. Otherwise, it will not show up in my designer's boards. We used to have it where all of our orders were done by the line item, and it wouldn't show up in their board. So then we've just switched all of our orders over to the order level, so they show up in the boards. But I noticed that you guys also move it by line item, so I don't know why ours doesn't work that way.
Don't know positively, Debbie, but does the order contain more than just design work?
Yes.
Okay. I can't answer your question, Deb.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Linda, do you have any thoughts or insight?
I would have to defer to the consulting department at Sirius. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I mean, you
It's
could
fine.
try tech support. They may also know.
Okay, or maybe do the webinar.
Yeah, definitely through the webinar.
Intuitively, Deb, it seems that what you described should work.
Right.
I don't understand why it would not.
Right. Yeah, and especially if when we go into production, we're going to be moving things into different rooms, and by line item would be ideal, but for some reason we just have that issue where it doesn't show up on the boards for the designers. So yeah, we moved everything over to order level.
So is your job board that includes the design component, does that affect, are you doing in the same job board, are you doing production so that would move to production related stuff, or have you tried to separate what I would define as the pre-production from the actual production process? Have you separated, or are those combined?
Everything's combined. What we do with the job is we move it, the sales puts it in, and then everything goes over to design to review and set up proofing and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Logically, I can't debate, at all your process, your approach, but I don't understand why it's not doing what you think.
Okay. Well, I'll get with the 1 o'clock webinar then.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else have anything?
Don't see any other questions, Paul.
All right. I won't keep. Thanks a lot. I hope this has been helpful for everybody.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.